So, I chose hookups over dating, and here's what I learned. I'll give you my background, describe the pros and cons of both, and then go into advice I would give my younger self. So, a bit about me. I'm 25, and for the past 7ish years have chased hookups over long-term relationships with women. And I believe this started after a breakup with a long-term girlfriend when I was a late teenager. And since then I've had many strings of short-term relationships or slash hookups. There were a couple girls who I called my girlfriend, but these relationships only lasted a couple of months. And honestly, I left them because I wanted to be single, I guess. Now, why am I making this video? It's not to brag. It's because I want others to learn from my mistakes. Me personally, I'm the oldest son in my family, full stop, and then the oldest male relative and family friend. So what I meant by that is I never had like a older person in my family or immediate circle I could ask about these things. So I messed up a lot and learnt the hard way when it comes to navigating the wonderful world of women as a young man. So I hope you can learn from my mistakes. Now, why did I choose hookups over dating? Part of it stems because you can twist or split when you're a young man, and it's the idea of blackjack. So say you have 17, when you're playing blackjack you're going to want to ask for a higher card, right? Because you need 21 to win. You can look at that when you're a young man. So say you're 18, you haven't got any money, but you're in good shape. You might be like a 17, but if you got money, you'd be a 21. You pick the high card. And when you can pick the high card, you get the most women. So because I was a student for so long and I wasn't making any money, and I was quite skinny, like, and I'm now building quite a lot of muscle, but I thought if I get a good body, then I can be a little bit higher. You know, I get a full-time job, at which I'm about to do. I can be a little bit higher. And yeah, I don't know if it's worked out for me or not, but we'll get into that. And the other thing is, have I just not met the right person that makes the wonderful world of chasing multiple women and getting them worth it? Who knows? Some of the pros and cons of hookups. Some of them, especially when you're young, is just no commitment and you get the freedom. But this is not just for the relationships, it's, babe, can I go out with the boys? You just can. You can go and do it. You don't have to consult anyone when you want to go traveling. You can go to bed without checking your phone and sending goodnight messages, and there's less emotional baggage when things go separate. More pros of hookups is that life is less status quo. I think in especially our lives in the modern world, we get stuck in routine because everything's so familiar. So this makes your life slightly more rememberable. But cons are that you can break a lot of hearts because you think that you're just together for a short amount of time and then you're going to eventually separate. That's not really how it works for a lot of ladies. You're going to think that the longer you're together, the longer that there is a likelihood that they are going to be able to change your mind and get into a relationship. So when you do eventually break things off or things go south, they can actually be really hurt, and a lot of times then they'll say, oh, but I thought we were going to be together. I'll make another video on how to navigate situations like that, like situationships. But yeah, cons of this are like surface level connections. So you'll be hanging out with someone and it will just feel like very, like there's nothing there. It's just you're both there for a purpose. I remember once I was like, had this random girl over and she was like, oh, I've been in the bedroom like this before. And it just made me feel like, fuck, we're both just sort of going around just doing this. But the other thing is that there's a weird navigation where you don't know what the other person is feeling regarding this short-term relationship slash hookup. And there is a lot of risk of hurting people. And like a girl might say that she only thinks it's a short-term thing, but deep down she might actually want to change your mind. And she's going to think that the longer you are seeing each other, the more likely she is to change her mind. And if that's not the case, breaking girls' hearts sucks, man. Like, it's not fun. Low-key, no matter what, even if you do the breakup very nicely, you've broken up with the girl, so you're a bad guy. That's how it's going to go down. And I'll make another video on how to navigate these sort of short-term situationships in future, because there are a lot of things you can do to sort of mitigate some of these bad things, but it's a tricky thing to do. Regarding what I think to be the pros and cons of relationships, it's that, like, security. So it's that security, it's that sense of feeling that you've got someone that you can depend on, which is a really beautiful thing. And I think that long-term relationships should be cherished and they should be flexed more than, oh, I've had relationships with XYZ amount of girls, because trust me, it just is an empty feeling. However, one of the cons of dating as a young man, especially settling early, is Are you settling too early? Did you reach your prime after your relationship, and therefore you could get someone that wasn't as good? However, obviously if you meet the love of your life, you meet the love of your life, right? But it's difficult to know whether you are removing some of the best years of your life to experiment and sort of make mistakes and learn from it, rather than just be in a safe blanket, even though it's comfortable, is how I would describe it. And sometimes, as you've probably found out if you've watched a lot of like self-development channels, comfortability can be a bit of a killer. It can make you lazy, it can make you overweight, it can make you unambitious, but I still do think there are beautiful things as dating, beautiful things to dating as a young man. Now, and to the end of the video, from my experiences of choosing hookups over dating, would I change it? Honestly, I'm not too sure. Like, it's made me the man I am today. I created all these beautiful memories with all these different girls that I just don't see anymore, and it kind of sucks when you remember, oh, we did this, and we went to this bar, and then we drove a car together with the roof off, and it was sunny, and it was beautiful. But then when you think of that person, you get kind of upset. Well, not upset, but it's a negative feeling, right? And that kind of sucks. I think that's the one thing I wouldn't like, is because I would have rather been able to look back on those memories and then look the person in the eye, which I love truly, and just work off that. But there are other things, like I remember my uncle said to me, he said my name, I'm not going to say it, but you're always going to have a lot of girls who you can pick and choose from, and it's fun, and it's eventful, and it's crazy. But at the end of the day, it just feels empty, and it's better having that one person that you just put everything into, and you have that sense of security. Going back to that sense of security, I think that is one of the most important things that you get from being in a long-term relationship. But anyways, yeah, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed. Any questions, comment there down below. But if you've made it this far, let's win together. Chuck your experiences down below and help others and myself learn from it. See you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace out.